we'd have a national ban on pornography if we could, right? I want to make sure that we can say we're a Christian nation. We are trying to create a shadow Office of Management and Budget, a shadow National Security Council, and a shadow Office of Legal Counsel. These are the main organs in government that you need outside to create the battle plan.
And you're not going to publish those?
No.
They go straight to...
Yeah, they're very, very close hold.
Hi, everybody. This is Andrew Egger with the Bulwark. Project 2025 is back in the news today after the release of some undercover footage we're going to talk about a little bit. By now, you've probably heard of Project 2025. It's the second-term plan for Donald Trump, written by some of his top allies, calls for enormous, sweeping changes to remake the federal government, the end of any real concept of a nonpartisan civil service, the firing of huge numbers of career federal employees to be replaced by political appointees, the closing of branches of the government like the Department of Education, national ban on seeking abortion pills through the mail. It's a giant policy handbook that some of Trump's allies, organized at the Heritage Foundation, have put together in anticipation of a second Trump win. Democrats this year have found this document very useful as a focal point for their warnings about the radical nature of a second Trump term. They've talked frequently about Donald Trump's Project 2025 agenda. You'll hear Kamala Harris and Tim Walz using that phrase a lot.
Project 2025 is proof. If Donald Trump wins in November, he will continue to attack equality, take away freedoms, and undermine our democracy.
Polling shows Project 2025 has become hugely unpopular. There's a huge swath of voters across the political spectrum who, when you ask them about some of these specific proposals, they say they don't like them. They make them uneasy. And for some, it isn't even about the specific proposals. For some, as our Sarah Longwell has found in focus groups, it's the very notion that there's this semi-secret plan that exists at all. Donald Trump not being the kind of guy that you would necessarily trust to have a super secret plan. So one guy who is not very happy with this state of affairs is Donald Trump himself. Trump is first and foremost a branding guy, more so than an ideologue necessarily. And he knows how unpopular some of these proposals that his brain trust wants are. He's gone out of his way to avoid committing to some of these things in public.
I don't know what the hell it is. It's Project 25.
Are you ready? I know nothing about Project 25. I haven't seen the document. I don't intend to really see the document.
His campaign has pushed back on it quite a bit. They've said that no outside group speaks for President Trump.
It's complete and utter bullshit for any reporter to write that this is the way it is. The president's made it clear these people do not speak for him. They do not speak for the campaign.
He even got the Heritage Foundation, the group that organized the project in the first place, to fire its head a few weeks back. Now, it's always been pretty obvious that this distancing was a political move. That Trump hated the idea of voters associating these policies with him, more so than that he necessarily hated the policies themselves. And that's clearer than ever today, because today what we have is a British sting journalism group that has released footage, undercover footage, talking to one of the architects of Project 2025, openly saying Trump's opposition was for public consumption only.
I expect you to hear 10 more times from the rally, the president, distancing himself from the left's boogeyman of Project 2025.
Yeah. And you're not worried about that?
I'm not worried about it. And so I see what he's doing is just very, very conscious distancing himself from a brand. He's very supportive of what we do, and know that we have all manner of things that we do that's, even unrelated to Project 2025. He's been at our organization. He's raised money for our organization. But we got to win elections, and so I want to get as far as we possibly.
That's Russell Vought, a former cabinet secretary under Trump, who many expect may serve an even more integral role in a second Trump term, possibly as Trump's chief of staff. Since Trump left office, Vought has run a policy shop called the Center for Renewing America, and he's also been a key part of drafting Project 2025. So in these undercover videos, Vought makes it clear that Trump's opposition is not stressing them out at all. They're forging ahead with their work.
This year has been predominantly now getting ready for a year 5 of a Trump administration. We've got about 350 different documents that are regulations and things of that nature.
Elsewhere in the conversation, Vought makes it pretty obvious the sort of policy problems that he and others are hoping to use a second Trump term to address.
He talks about rape, incest, and life of the mother, I don't actually believe in those exceptions. So I want to make sure that we can say we're a Christian nation. And my viewpoint is mostly that I would probably be Christian nation. That's pretty close to Christian nationalism. Can we, if we're going to have legal immigration, can we get people that actually believe in Christianity? Is that in an ideal world? I mean, I think we could save the country in a sense of, the largest deportation in history, and we'd have a national ban on pornography if we could, right? The president has, the ability both along the border and elsewhere to maintain law and order with the military.
So just a couple quick things to say about this. One is, it's just kind of amazing how stupid Trump and his close campaign associates think his voters are. That he thinks it's plausible that he can just sweep all of this stuff under the rug, not talk about what he's for or against, leave huge portions of a second Trump term policy vague and up in the air, just say, trust me, we'll figure all this policy stuff out later. But the second thing is arguably more important, which is that it almost doesn't matter whether Trump is sincere or not in distancing himself from Project 2025. The inescapable fact is that when you compare the first Trump administration to a hypothetical second one, the biggest difference is that people who make up a second one are all going to look and sound an awful lot like Russell Vogt. The first Trump term, it was an enormously chaotic time, if you remember, on the personnel front for a lot of reasons. Constant hirings, constant firings, resignations, new people, turnover. Trump had swept into office in such a disorganized way where even he and the people around him hadn't expected him to win, that he had not done a lot of the legwork in terms of getting his new staff ready. Nor were there even so many people who were aligned with him in Republican politics on envision and policy and all that stuff. There just weren't enough bodies, even if he had been looking for them in the first place. He was essentially obliged to staff his administration with a bunch of people who were still old guard Republicans, still adhered to the old way of doing business, still devoted to old Republican policies, didn't necessarily even have a deep well of personal loyalty to Trump himself. And so one big narrative of that first administration was Trump's slow purge of all of those types of Republicans from among his political appointees, the gradual replacement with more and more pliable yes men and more radical ideologues. This time around, the yes men and the lickspittles and the radicals have not been just waiting around, twiddling their thumbs. They're not going to be caught flat-footed again by a second Trump win. They're making their plans. They're getting ready to lurch into action. Trump himself might be distancing himself from those plans and those people right now, but that hardly matters. I mean, these are the people who are going to step up to staff his next administration. If Trump wins, you're going to hear a lot more from Russell Vogt and guys like him. That's all I got for right now. You can read a lot more about this tomorrow in the Morning Shots newsletter, which I co-write with Bill Kristol. Go on over to thebulwark.com to subscribe to that. Thanks, and talk to you soon.